So I had a crazy idea this morning, and I said, I'm going to record myself in OBS playing Dwarf Fortress, and I'm just going to talk through the video and try to explain what's happening, because most people, when they try to learn about Dwarf Fortress, they struggle to even understand what they're looking at. So we'll just jump right in. You're now following a dwarf as he moves through that previous hallway was slick with water. We had actually just drained an underwater cave, and he's now helping build this stockpile of stone and other things that we've dug out from the wall. When the background behind him changes suddenly, that's because he's moving up or down a Z level. On a normal map, there's an X-axis and there's a Y-axis. This is the newly drained lake that he was moving through again. But there's an X-axis and there's a Y-axis and there's a Z-axis because this is a big subterranean mine. So there's a lot of moving up and down, and those triangles that point up, those are ramps that either go up or down. So you see, I use a lot of ramps. I think you can build stairs as well, but ramps are really the way to go. And so he's just kind of moving through his day. You can see in the walls there are certain things to collect. This is a big stockpile of, it looks like mostly stone and maybe some smelted metal, some objects. Over to the left, you can see some cut gemstones. So the two big hills to climb when you're learning Dwarf Fortress are the interface to know what you're looking at, and then the visual interface, and then the playing interface is also very complicated, but you can get the hang of it, and especially if you don't mind getting some muscle memory on the keyboard. I think at this point I actually misunderstood what was happening, and I thought the path that the dwarf I had been following was taking, I thought he was being attacked by something that had come up from the cave. And this is me investigating and then realizing that it is just a weirdly drawn dwarf, and they're not actually fighting each other. So I'm checking. You see, I have a naked mole dog in a cage. There's some bats down in the cave, but I'm checking and I'm realizing that that's not what's happening. And I had really just misidentified. I used the Lazy Noob Pack, which is really, if you're a new player, it's the only way to get into this. That's not super frustrating. It makes it look as good as it does here, and you can see I'm still kind of like mousing over this one because it doesn't look like a dwarf to me. It looks like a troglodyte or something that would come out of the cave. So I'm just making sure I'm using this graphics pack. It also comes with Dwarf Fortress Hack, which is a kind of a debugger hacking tool, and it is pretty critical to use Dwarf Fortress because the game is so you need whatever help you can get. So I would recommend, don't be afraid to cheat with Dwarf DF Hack. You really need to, or the Lazy Noob Pack. It's what you're going to need to get started. But so we're following this guy. That's a good example of D level. See, now he's going down. That was basically like a 3 or 4 level funnel that takes him down into this underground cavern. That's what those colorful things up north are. You're looking down on trees, and there's a deep... This is actually a big chasm from where the lake was drained. Today he's working all around this drained out lake. And actually down to the south you can see an obsidian plug that I made in DF Hack. Subterranean lakes, if they touch the edge of the map, it counts. They will be replenished from a imagined larger lake that's off the map. So you have to kind of plug those if you do want to drain a lake. Honestly, water engineering is my favorite part of this game. You can build like waterfalls that wash your dwarves, which is good for health, and they also enjoy it. They enjoy the mist, which can be good for their stress. There's a utility called Dwarf Psychiatrist, which is in DF Hack again, that just removes stress, which makes a lot of things easier. I might recommend that. Major things that I like to cheat with. I like Dig V, which digs a vein of some valuable thing out of the wall. Right now we're looking at all of my dwarfs. I have 120 citizens. 224 things have died on my map since I started, and we have 24 pets and livestock. We're not very livestocky. We mostly collect plants. This is good forest, so they're mostly vegetarians. You can see everyone's busy, everyone has a job. This is another piece of water engineering. I actually dammed this lake and piped it up a mountain into a cistern that is gravity fed. So now anytime I want, I can turn on a waterfall. And what you're watching here is one of my dwarves just hunted a kangaroo. I'm not sure why they're kangaroos, but it's some of the natural wildlife. and he is now... I'm not sure what he's doing. You don't control individual dwarves. I don't know if I even said that. You kind of give them directions in general. It's like you manage them. And if they have what they need, and it's hard to understand what they need sometimes, but if they have what they need, they will just go about their business. This game is basically playing itself right now. This guy is doing his own thing. I'm honestly not even sure what he's up to. And you as the manager, you kind of want to look at everyone and just make sure that things seem like they're going smoothly. And when you notice that things are piling up or things are going poorly or like the dwarves are kind of sitting around, they're not doing anything special, you have to figure out why that is and get it rolling again. One thing I'm going to brag about, and you might be able to see, is that this fortress is pretty well anchored. There can be invading forces, all kinds of things, diseases that can spread, and it can wipe out your fortress. But mine, I actually have a vampire who is immortal and pretty hard to kill, and he is walled up in my fortress in a way where he cannot get to anyone else, and nothing can get to him. So under no circumstances will this fortress ever be wiped out, because he will always exist in the wall. And this has some implications. You can retire a fortress, stop playing the dwarves themselves, but like revisit the map you've made, because that's really, the engineering projects are the coolest part in some ways. So even if you get wiped out, you can, I'm using my army now to clear wild animals, and also some corpses that I've left down in the cave are rotting, and they're creating miasma, which is not venting properly to the surface because they're in a cave. Lots of really interesting simulation things like that. What was I saying? But you can always, come in with new dwarves and try a map again if you like the map, but mine will be an unbroken community, which is nice. This is probably my most successful fortress to date. You can see it lags every once in a while. I'm running Fast Dwarf. That's another thing that I really recommend from DF Hack, where the dwarves will either teleport or just move faster. Can be very useful and make it more interesting. I actually recorded this on a gaming laptop for what that's worth, and it was struggling to run OBS and simulate 120 dwarves running on fast, which seems like you need a new PC, bro. And I do. But this game actually simulates every one of those dwarves, every one of their fingers, every one of their organs, internal organs. If they have a smashed eye socket, it keeps track of that. It keeps track of what's on their clothes, the quality of every piece of their clothes, if there's dirt, if there's blood, and every tile as well. Every time an animal moves through, it tracks mud. Every block has its own temperature. Things can start fires. There can be cave-ins. The pressure on every tile is calculated. So it is actually, and it's not super well optimized. I mean, this is a pretty small, relatively small boutique team that has made this. So it's not super optimized for modern systems either. Water physics especially will draw on your processor. My point being that this is not like for potato computers per se, but I have 120 dwarves that are running on this gaming PC, and it doesn't lag too badly. And between that and the vampire mayor and the walls, this could really be like a record-setting fortress for me. So I'm back into it. I think I'll make these videos every once in a while, just kind of try to talk about it. If you have any specific questions about how to get started, leave that for me in the comments, and then I'll focus on that. I'll be able to actually focus. There's so much to talk about. I can get going forever and ever and ever with Dwarf Fortress. So if you are curious about learning the game, leave me a comment and I will address that specifically, and get you started, because it's free. It's a free game, super fun. It's crazy. It's one of the best simulators and like fantasy generating things I've ever seen, pieces of software I've ever seen. It's incredible. I think that's all I have to say, and it looks like in my OBS recording I'm also just kind of like scrolling around looking at all my guys. You can see their stress is all negative 99,000, and that is Dwarf Fifth Therapist. Really, all you have to do, get the Lazy Noob Pack. That includes DF Hack, and that includes all the other utilities I'm talking about. Just get the Lazy Noob Pack make sure you have the correct source and don't download some malware or something. And then just get started. That's all. It's your one-stop shop. That's all you need.